The war had been over for 11 months. Not that anyone had told the scars. Darien Voss walked through the grand corridors of the Velithary Palace without ceremony, without escort, and without a single badge of rank on his chest. His uniform, if you could even call it that anymore, was a worn grey jacket with frayed cuffs, the left sleeve bearing nothing but a ghost-pale scar where an insignia had once been burned off by enemy plasma fire. His boots were cracked at the heel. His face was a geography of old decisions. He had come to the palace because someone had asked him to. He had not come because he cared about politics or ceremony or the delicate feelings of alien dignitaries. He had come because his friend Joe had sent him a message, 3 words long. They need you. Joe was a small, sharp-eyed human from the outer belts, a logistics runner who had survived the siege of Vale Station by memorizing every maintenance tunnel on the ship and crawling through them for 6 days with a broken collarbone. Joe did not ask for things often. When Joe asked, Darien moved. The palace throne room was enormous in the way that only truly ancient things could be enormous, not built for comfort, but built to make you feel small. 5-story columns of carved moonstone. Ceiling murals depicting the founding of the Velithary dynasty, painted in colors humans had no names for. And at the far end, behind 3 concentric rings of ceremonial guards, sat the young Queen Ariva, 14 years old, newly crowned after the assassination of her father, and terrified in a way that she was working very hard not to show. Captain Lyra Vera stood at the Queen's right hand. Lyra was not small. She was nearly 7 feet tall by human measurement, with the deep violet skin and forward-swept horns of the Velithary warrior caste, and she wore the Royal Guard's platinum armor like it had been poured onto her. 11 years of service. 32 confirmed threat neutralizations. She had once held a collapsing corridor door shut with her bare hands for 4 minutes while her queen evacuated. She did not impress easily. She watched the human walk across the throne room floor and felt something shift in the air, something she could not name and did not like that she could not name. He stopped 20 feet from the queen's dais and did not bow. The entire court went rigid. Somewhere behind Darien, a junior diplomat named Many, assigned as a cultural liaison, made a small, strangled noise of social horror. Many had spent 6 weeks briefing Darien on Velithary court protocol. Many had, apparently, wasted 6 weeks. "You're the one they sent," Queen Ariva said. Her voice was steadier than her hands, which she had hidden in the folds of her gown. "I'm the one who came," Darien said. "Sending implies someone has authority over me." Lyra's hand moved to her weapon. Darien looked at her directly, not at the weapon, at her, and something passed between them that the surrounding courtiers would spend months trying to describe. It was not aggression. It was not submission. It was something older than both. "I know what you are," it said. "I know what I am. Let's not perform at each other." Lyra's hand moved away from her weapon. She did not know why. She would think about that for a long time afterward. The problem, as it had been explained to Joe, and Joe to Darien, and Darien to himself on the transport ship over, was this. The Velithary Empire was not at war anymore. But someone wanted it to be. A faction called the Dea, a name that meant, roughly, the restorers in the old Velithary tongue, had spent the last 11 months quietly placing people. Inside the palace. Inside the guard. Inside the machinery of court. They believed the peace treaty was a human trick. They believed the young queen, too young, too soft, too willing to listen to alien advisors, would lead the empire into subjugation. They were wrong. But they were also armed, organized, and 3 days away from making their move. The Velithary intelligence service knew this. The Queen's own advisors knew this. The problem was that the Dea had people inside the intelligence service and inside the advisor pool, which meant the circle of people who could be trusted was very, very small. It had been reduced, after careful elimination, to the Queen herself, Captain Lyra Vera, a palace engineer named Woe who had discovered the infiltration by accident and nearly died for it, and Joe, who had been in the right corridor at the wrong time and was now hiding in a maintenance room on sublevel 4 with a broken communicator and a growing talent for fear. And now Darien. The human with no insignia. No rank. No political value. No official connection to any government, any military, any organization that could be leveraged or threatened. The human who had walked out of the Battle of the Kethera breach as the only survivor of a 12-person team, not because he was lucky, but because he had looked at an impossible situation and found, somewhere in the arithmetic of it, a way through that no one else had seen. "Tell me the layout of the sub-palace," Darien said to Lyra, 3 hours later, in a room that had been swept for surveillance devices twice. Whoa, a compact velethary with burn scars on both forearms and the careful eyes of someone who had learned not to trust what they saw at first glance, spread a schematic across the table. "The DEA's primary strike team will come through here," Woe said, pointing. "Service tunnels. They have uniforms. They have access codes, my access codes, which they took from my station terminal." "How many?" 14. Plus 6 already inside, positioned as guards. Lyra looked at Darien. "We have 9 guards I trust absolutely. The rest are unknown quantities." 9 against 20, many said from the corner, where he had been trying to be invisible. "Those are, mathematically speaking." "Fine odds," Darien said. Many stared at him. "Fine," Darien repeated, and he did not say it the way a person says something to make themselves feel better. He said it the way a carpenter says that joint is square, as a simple observation of structural fact. Lyra watched him look at the schematic. She had fought beside many species. She had fought beside humans twice before, during the war. What she had noticed about humans, what she had filed away and not yet found a category for, was this: most species, when facing danger, the body knows before the mind. The pupils dilate. The breathing shallows. The hands move. Darien Voss looked at the schematic of a 20 against 9 assassination attempt on a 14-year-old queen and his hands were perfectly still. It was not bravado. Bravado, she knew, bravado had a smell, a particular quality of performance. This was something else. This was a man who had been in enough rooms like this that fear had simply become one more piece of information, like wind direction or low light. He was not suppressing it. He had metabolized it. She felt, unexpectedly, something she had not felt in 11 years of guarding royalty. Safe. What happened over the next 41 hours would later be written up in a Velethari Intelligence Service report that was immediately classified at the highest level, which meant it was read by approximately 400 people within a week. The salient points were these. The DEA strike team entered the service tunnels at the expected time and found them empty. What they found instead, 17 minutes later, was that they were no longer navigating toward the throne room, they were navigating in a slowly tightening spiral, each corridor choice subtly blocked or redirected by Woe's engineering and Darien's instruction, until all 14 of them had converged in a single sub-basement storage chamber with 2 exits, both of which were held by Lyra's 9 guards. The 6 infiltrators inside the palace guard were identified, not by surveillance, but because Darien had asked each of them, individually and casually, a question to which an honest guard would have one answer and a planted one would have another. He had explained the question to Lyra beforehand. She had thought it was too simple. She had been wrong. There were no Velethari casualties. When it was over, Queen Ariva stood in the corridor outside the storage chamber and looked at the human who had no rank and no insignia and had never once bowed. "What do you want?" she asked. It was a genuine question. She had been told that humans always wanted something. Darien looked at her for a moment. Then he looked at Lyra, who was standing at parade rest with an expression that she was still trying to sort out. "Joe said you needed help," he said. Joe was right. Now I'm going home. He turned and walked back down the corridor. Captain Lyra Vera, commander of the Royal Guard, decorated veteran of 3 campaigns, holder of the Velethari Star of Sovereign Courage, took 3 steps after him before she caught herself. She straightened. She did not call him back. But she remembered the way the corridor had felt when he was in it. The way the guards had stood a little taller. The way even she, even Lyra, had known without being told that the plan would hold because he had made it. He had worn no insignia. The royal guard had answered to him anyway. Some things, she was learning, did not require rank to be real.